I'm delighted to say joining us once again on the We Are West Ham podcast, talkSPORT presenter, Mr. Tottenham himself, Paul Coyte. Paul, absolutely great to have you on the show again. Thanks very much for joining us once again.
You're not really delighted though, are you? You're not really delighted?
I am delighted, actually. I am delighted because, I mean, A, because you're a nice man, primarily.
Right.
It's nice to talk to you. But B, because even though we've got, 15 minutes of chatting, I already know how it's going to go. You're going to accuse me of mind games and reverse psychology.
Yes, I will.
And I am going to play mind games and reverse psychology. We're going to have good fun for 15 minutes, and we'll move on and do it again in a few months' time for the return leg.
You know what? That's why I love being on here, Will. That's why I love you as well, mate. It's just honestly, it's like the Ipcrest file. You and me working together. That's what it's like. What's he saying? Okay, well, we'll see how we go. We're talking code for the whole thing.
It just feels a bit like, when you watch repeats of Only Fools and Horses for the 900th time, the jokes are coming. You know how it's going to go. You've seen it before, but you're still going to laugh. It's all great stuff. Paul, Tottenham Hotspur, third in the Premier League table. A little chat off air just now. And I think my summary was, you Tottenham fans are a weird bunch. A statement that served me well for most of my life, to be honest, fairly accurate in my experience.
Is that reverse psychology? You mean we're not really a weird bunch? That's really kind, Will. I see what you're doing.
Third in the league, 2-0 victory over Nottingham Forest away. No mean feat, by the way, winning at the City Ground this season. Harry Kane finish, missed a penalty, and then a little diving header at the end. Dean Henderson kept him in. He seems to be playing pretty well, but you're saying not too convinced by your start to the season despite being third.
I know it sounds weird, and I'm really pleased with how things are going, because you can't not be. It's our best start for 13 years. It's not a matter that I don't think we're playing well. I think there's more to come. I think there's. It seems that we're doing that thing that really good teams do, and we're winning ugly, Will. This is what we're known for. We'd play great, and then we wouldn't come away with the result. We wouldn't be able to kill teams off. And
you'd lose at home to Burnley.
Exactly. So I think maybe, or away at West Ham, something ridiculous like that. But I'm obviously I'm really happy. I'm really happy with how things going. Can't not be happy with the manager. I mean, Conte is unbelievable. We've now got the king of housery, Richarlison, playing for us as now, which everybody would hate unless he's playing for you. So he is endearing himself to Spurs fans. There's a thing that Alan Mullery said to me years ago, and I've used this a lot. And he always used to say that, Paul, the best teams have got to have lovers and haters. And if you've got, we always had too many lovers in our team, and that's the thing. And now we've got some of the hard sods, and we've got a little bit more of that undercurrent of just something a little more sinister that we've never had before. And we've got both, and that obviously will work for us. So I'm happy. I think there's more to come. So I can't argue about how things are going at the moment.
There you go. It's funny you say that, actually. I mean, first of all, you talk about those sort of hard-nosed people. You're led by one now, aren't you? First and foremost, Antonio Conte, not afraid of some of the dark arts on the touchline. You can tell with his attitude and passion. He's win at all costs sort of thing. And I remember the All or Nothing Spurs documentary, Mourinho. That's one of the first things he said, didn't he, when he was given the job there? Was that you need to be a bit. He was trying to instill some grit in the squad, and he was saying about the game management things and all that. And it is a bit of a daunting prospect. And you mentioned sort of points or results that you perhaps don't deserve. I felt like the Chelsea point you got was fairly fortunate, wasn't it? Probably one you may not have got in seasons past.
No.
But you come away with a point. Harry Kane's late finish, and it just feels it's one of those horrible times that I really, really don't like, when all of my Tottenham supporting fans, and there's annoyingly a lot of them, they're all really positive and they're all really happy, and you're the first one who's sort of come across with any sense of anything other than, well, of course we're going to win the league this season.
Oh, now, come on. That's not Spurs fans. The thing is, Spurs fans do that, Will, with tongue-in-cheek. I don't honestly believe. I mean, you're saying about, how close are you to these Spurs fans? And they're laughing as they say. Nobody really goes, oh, yeah, we're going to do that. Because that's not the way we work. You know that. We do it with a sense of irony because we've not won anything for a long time, and we know that. But, this is a good side, and we're excited about what is possible, but nobody would ever tempt fate by saying that to you, would they? Really?
I always find there's a couple of Tottenham fans I know. Most of them are like, they say it tongue in cheek, but then there are a few who deliver it as if it's tongue in cheek.
Oh, they're
you can just see the little glint in their eye. You're not even joking, are you? You actually believe that. How does it feel just at the moment, despite all the positivity? The fact that Arsenal have started even better, if that's even possible. Both you still unbeaten, of course, but Arsenal's perfect record, 4 wins from 4.
Well, I just wonder. I mean, I celebrated the first goal after 6 minutes, just like we'd beaten Fulham at home. That's how excited I was about that first goal going in. I mean, are the fireworks still going on there at the Emirates? And the excitement going on? But listen again. But we got to be honest here. Arsenal, yes, they are looking good. I think Jesus is looking very, very good. But and also he has got them playing. But let's be honest, they haven't played. They had a really, really tough game, have they? And I think if there are Arsenal fans that would actually look at it logically and think it's very, very early, and I'll be honest, and I will put my hands up because I do have a laugh about how they reacted after the Fulham game, but and I've never been in defence of Arsenal in my life, but if you are supporting a club and you've got 100% so far, and I think it's probably the celebration of we've won again and we've got maximum points. I think that's what it was, but all the same. I mean, really. Yeah,
I joke about Tottenham fans. I have actually heard an Arsenal fan, a colleague of mine, I won't name drop him, for fear of him losing any professional respect that he once had, who's already coining the phrase the Winvincibles, with the idea that they're not only they're going to go unbeaten this season, they're going to not draw either. It'll be 38 played, 38 won.
Really?
So I'm just surrounded. West Ham been bottom of the table until yesterday. I'm just surrounded by fans of London clubs who are absolutely delighted with their start to their team's campaign, and it's becoming quite insufferable quite quickly.
So, I've got to say, Will, I mean, whenever I see you, you're clean shaven, your hair's gelled, you've got a suit and tie on. I'm looking at you, mate, and I'm beginning to worry a little bit. It's early on in the season, you got a goal yesterday. You got a goal, but how you feel? Worried about it? You're not really worried, because I mean the thing is, I talk about Arsenal, but then we talk about the games that you've played. You played. It's very early on Man City, and then okay, Nottingham Forest. We managed to get a win against Nottingham Forest, but it's the first game of the. It's the first game at the City Ground, isn't it, that they've played in 23 years in the Premier League. So that's always. It's like Arsenal when they played Brentford last season. It's the game you don't want to play. Okay, Brighton was not. That was probably the one.
Well, we haven't
you weren't happy
Brighton
with.
for. Yeah, since 2013 or whatever, since they came back in the Prem. So it's
not the end of the world. So I wish you well after Wednesday. Once Wednesday's gone, and then after that, I can wish you well.
I'm not too sort of. It's all not doom and gloom. I'm trying to stay pretty pragmatic. I do think that win against Aston Villa was very important. The performances are concerning people. I think that's part of the problem. But we were robbed at Nottingham Forest. From some decisions. It was so unlucky, hit the bar and it bounced down off the line twice, missed a penalty. He deserved at least a point, but if that had been a 3-1 victory, no one would have batted an eyelid. The Brighton game was terrible. Awful first half against Villa, better second half. But then what you need after that first win, which is great to get it on the board, obviously a bit of relief there, you don't need Tottenham at home and then Chelsea away as your next 2 games within 4 days, 2 games, those 2 games in 4 days next. So
I'm taking my son for the first time. I've never taken him. My son's 15, just turned 15. So we're going to the London Stadium. It's not far away from me. I'm in Buckhurst Hill, so it's not far away, Stratford. Yeah. So it is, we're going to be okay though, Will, aren't we? Do I have to get away early or anything? The fact that I'll be wearing full Tottenham Hotspur kit, is that gonna, and I'm in the away in the home end. That'll be okay, won't it? It'll be all right.
I'm sure you'll be fine. I was going to say it may determine where you sit, but I would ask where you're sitting normally. Perhaps that's an off-air conversation.
Yeah, exactly. What seat? I'll see little red spots that are landed on me as I arrive.
Yeah, what exact row and seat number and block are you in, Paul? Just wondering so I can wave.
What time will you leave the house, and what exactly is your address you'll be leaving from at that point? Always want to say what fan of West Ham I've been.
It's an unpopular practice, that, isn't it? Sitting in the home end. Me and James, who I do the podcast with, sat in the home end for the League Cup game at Spurs last season.
Yeah.
And I always find, I've done it a few grounds, Arsenal, Man United before. I always find it a thoroughly unpleasant experience.
Yeah, and uncomfortable.
As I did at the Tottenham game. Yeah.
So when you say it, what was what unpleasant, as in it wasn't very nice, or unpleasant because it was uncomfortable because you had to sit on your hands or you couldn't say anything and you're tensed up like that?
It was, I mean, we lost the game, which every time I've sat in a home, I've never seen West Ham win sitting in the opposition team's home end. That was uncomfortable. But the most uncomfortable part was James. It was cold, but James, who I was with, thinking he was doing a really good job of masking his celebration of Jared Bowen's goal. And when he's like putting his head between his knees, virtually pumping his fists, sitting up, and like I'm there just going, oh no, like trying to get him with the
oh damn
it, James might as well have taken his shirt off.
So
well, exactly that.
What was the reaction then? How was everybody around?
I think it was okay. I mean, we didn't get noticed, but I was ready to join in and punch him. So I did. If it had started, I would have piled in as well. But no, I think. Hold
on, I've got one. Can I give one to you? I've got one of those as well. And this was years ago, and I was working in local radio up in Peterborough, and there was Chris Turner, who was the late great manager of Peterborough United at the time, who was a gooner, and it was, I think it was 93. So this is going back quite a long time. And it was when Arsenal played Sheffield Wednesday in the cup final at Wembley. So and I said, I fancy, I want to go to the cup final. And he said, I can get you some tickets. So I said, obviously, I want tickets for the Sheffield Wednesday end. And he knew very well what he was going to do. So I got these tickets. I turned up, took my dad along, and then we've turned up and we're like, oh Christ, we're right in the middle. We're at the FA Cup final and we're in the Arsenal end at Wembley. So what they had before the game, you know, they used to do this, you probably won't even remember, but there was the old things where it was the start of Match of the Day. And if you look back on YouTube, you see it with Jimmy Hill, and everybody would hold up cards. Yeah, I think they still do it these days, And anyway, the whole of the tunnel end at Wembley, everybody would hold up this card, and then it would be the big gun, the big Arsenal logo.
Like thing,
So there was, and if you look at it, there's two tiny little gaps in there, which was me and my dad. We refused to hold up the thing, and people are going, why are they not holding it? I go, no. Oh, I forgot. Yeah. So there's tiny two
we didn't have one. We didn't get given one.
Exactly. That was my pathetic stand against that.
That is an admirable protest. That is. I got nothing but respect for that. So I do hope you enjoyed the game, Paul. I not too much, of course, and I still hope you keep safe.
Well, I'm looking forward to the West Ham hospitality as I arrive.
I'm sure it'll be fine. Yeah. Perhaps it's best to not put this out on YouTube, actually. Or
okay, fine. I am in disguise, by the way. Just in case you don't know, I am in disguise.
Yeah. This is what
I don't look anything like this.
Like. What do you think then, going into the game? You've obviously touched on Tottenham's form this season, how you think they're playing. As I've said already, and as I think I say to you most times you come on, you owe us a slapping. We're not playing great as well, so I'm a little bit cautious. But as Jonesy said earlier on in the podcast, that we always turn up. I saw a hilarious tweet from Tottenham the other day before we'd got the win, a Tottenham fan, before we'd got the win at Villa, saying West Ham 0 goals this season, 0 points, can't buy a win, but you can guarantee they'll turn up like 1970s Brazil at the London Stadium.
Yeah, fair enough. Most of us fans feel that way. And I'm sure West Ham, it's happened in the past. We've seen it over the years. It'd be the worst West Ham team ever. I mean, the worst one for me ever was that game at Wembley when we were 3 up. And it was you were terrible. Yeah. You were terrible. And how on earth, still to this day, and it was a mixture of both. We threw it away and you came out in the second half. It was like you could see the momentum. And it was just the worst thing. And I've seen it, so never, ever would any Spurs fan that knows anything about the history between our two clubs go, oh, yeah, we're going to go over there and spank them, because it just doesn't happen.
Yeah. That was a League Cup one, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was horrible.
Lucky enough to be in the way in for that. Wonderful. We were so close to going at half time. We're just like, this is absolutely dreadful.
I know West Ham fans that did as well.
Yeah, amazing. But are you sort of? I suppose it's always hard, isn't it, from a football perspective? Because, like you say, it kind of form goes out the window.
It does.
Conte strikes me as a sort of manager, though, who doesn't really pay too much heed to any rivalries. He's got his style, he's got his way of playing, and that's how Tottenham are going to approach games, and they're going to be difficult to beat, whether they're playing West Ham, Arsenal, or Bournemouth or Brentford.
I think any manager worth their salt, I think anybody is going to try and approach it the same way. They're all going to be pumped up, and when you feel the atmosphere, which is obviously going to be there, and the rivalry, I mean, of course, everybody's going to know about it. It's going to be a huge game. It's going to be a really exciting game. And also, it's just so important that Spurs go out and try and win it. We're just wondering whether it's going to be a situation that Heung-min Son, who I absolutely love and adore, and it's the same as Kane as well, and he's a fantastic footballer. And I know he gets a lot of stick, and he's a really lovely fella as well. But he's struggling a little at the moment. I'm not seeing him play as well as he usually does. And it's just a wonder, and I think a lot of Spurs fans forums are saying this as well, is Richarlison going to start and maybe have Son on the bench? I would be surprised. I mean, personally, I think Son will start, and if it doesn't work out for him, then Richarlison is there. But Richarlison is kind of made for this sort of derby, don't you think? So this is the sort of thing.
Son loves a goal against West Ham, though, Paul.
He does. Yeah, he does. So, you wouldn't think, we're just going to drop him. I think he'll start. And we'll see how it goes. Because, again, it's just a confidence thing. And it's almost like Harry Kane's August, which is, he's not having August like he used to have Augusts, where it took a while for him to get going. And I'm seeing that from Son at the moment. So maybe.
What is that? It's interesting because I've got another colleague of mine that I'm going to be careful not to drop in it.
You're not mentioning anybody, are you? So
I'm not mentioning names.
So discreet.
I quite like my salary.
You're quite happy to say where I'm going to sit and what stand I'm going to be in. But when it comes to
when it comes to the people paying my wages, I'm sort of a bit against it. Who has got this really niche and strange he's a Spurs fan, a really anti-Son agenda, and his main arguing point at all times is he only ever scores the third in a 3-0 win. Kane's the one who scores all the goals, the point-winning goals, as he says.
Yeah.
And that's all he does. Massively overrated. And I'm just like, you're the only Tottenham fan I know ever who's got this weird problem with Heung-min Son. He's like, no, look at the stats. Look at the stats.
Only ever scores. If it's the third, what difference does it make if it's the third?
Also important.
After two have gone in, they don't try. That's when he only turns up when they win. It's like, well, what freaking sense does that make? That's a bizarre thing.
I'm glad you said that, because I feel like I've gone back at him a couple of times about it. And he actually produced a spreadsheet he produced a spreadsheet saying, look, here's all the goals Kane scored last year, here's all the ones Son scored, and this is how many points they had. And to be fair to him, I think it was about 2/3 of Kane's ones were point-winning goals, and a third of them were Sonny's. But I can't understand. I would have loved Heung-min Son in a West Ham team for so long. I can't understand how any Spurs fans have got any agenda or against him from what he's done before. But this season,
the Golden Boot. He's the Golden Boot winner from last season. So
but they were all for 3 or 4-0 goals, Paul.
They all came late. It's like when nobody was trying. That's when he'd only turn up and score all those goals when nobody cared.
Take the injury time ones out, and there's only about 4.
There's nothing. There's nothing.
What's happening this season then? Because this is the first time I've heard a bit more of a wider some question marks around him, and like you saying there, obviously Richarlison's come in, but suggestions that maybe our best starting 11 doesn't involve Heung-min Son. No,
nonsense. I wouldn't buy that for a second. I mean, all I'm saying is that he's not playing up to where we've seen him before. But, it's that old form and class is permanent and all that stuff. And that's the case. Every damn player that's ever played the game of football has gone through a time where they've had a little dry spell. It's just the way it is. It doesn't matter whether you're playing football, whatever work you do. It doesn't matter what you do. You're never going to be brilliant at everything you do the whole time. It's just never going to happen.
Well,
so
I've listened to your radio show for quite a long time, Paul, and I think you're a case against that point, to be honest.
Well, you know what? I am a case against that, of course.
Daily
of course,
excellence.
Yeah. But the thing is, they only give me an hour. You can't go wrong with an hour. So the thing is, if I was on for 2 or 3, I'd start going downhill. You know what I mean?
Mistakes.
But seriously, though, it's all it is. And anybody any Spurs fan's going to go, oh, I don't think he's going to make it's absolute nonsense. Included anyway. And if you're going to take the time to actually build a spreadsheet, then there's got to be some sort of agenda going on there, isn't there?
I think so. I'm going to weigh it up because I mentioned this to James earlier on the podcast. He's sort of equally sneery, and I think coming from someone with as much clout as you in Tottenham circles, I think I may show him this video and just say, look, it wasn't me saying it, so you can't sack me. However, this is the viewpoint of a very respected Tottenham Hotspur fan. Therefore, you can no longer make the Heung-min Son only scores third goals in 3-0 win arguments. And
you know what? If it is, I'll take those. If he scores the third, if we get to the third, I like goal
winning 3 and 4
on Wednesday, and he scores the third one, I'll sign off his spreadsheet, and he can do it all he wants because I'll take that all day long.
Nah, a colleague of mine will just be sitting there with his arms folded, won't be celebrating. But anyway, we'd already won. What's the point? Paul, how do you think it's going to go star-wise? Then I know sort of form-wise we've chatted about already, but star-wise, how do you think the game's going to play out?
You know what? I think you're gonna hit the ground running because that's just what happens. I think the crowd is going to be behind you, obviously, and I think what will happen is that you'll just be all hell for leather at the start, and you know that we're going to be waiting to hit you on the break, don't you? You know that's what's going to happen. So look out for that. And I think that's going to be within the first 15 minutes of the game. What happens after that? Would I take a draw? I wouldn't. Absolutely wouldn't take a draw. But then again, I'm one of these that will never, ever take a draw. I don't care who we're playing. I won't take it because it's, you just got to go out and win. But I wouldn't be surprised if it is a draw, Will, to be honest with you. I don't want to be like 2-2. Yeah, I don't know. You can score 2 goals? Possibly because it's Spurs and that's when you turn up. So it may be even the good time to play us because it might kickstart your season because we might see something different. But what do you make on that? Is it because I can never work it out? It's happened for years. What actually inspires these players all of a sudden to put out these worldly performances that we've seen over years, and we've seen it over different managers, we've seen it with different players, but for some reason, most of the time, we see a different West Ham than maybe we'd see against Brighton.
I honestly think, I think when we've had Mark Noble there for all those years, and he gets a lot of sneered at by other fans, but Moyes has already alluded to this season a couple of times how much he's missed around the place, etc., etc. I think when you got someone like that going around when it's Tottenham coming up, I know that this sort of thing has been wheeled out time and time again, but he's from Canning Town. He supported West Ham when he was a kid.
Yep.
And he's the captain of the club.
Yeah.
He knows all of his mates still. He lives in Shenfield. All of his mates, he goes out for lunch and he's accosted by West Ham fans, blah, blah, blah. He knows just as much as the rest of us did in the stands. So he's round at training that week. Right. A bit more. It's a bit extra, lads. We're focusing. It's Tottenham this weekend. It's Tottenham. It doesn't matter what else is going on. It's Tottenham this weekend. You have to put all into Tottenham. If you win this, lots of other stuff gets excused for the season. And for years and years and years, obviously it's a bit different in the last couple of campaigns because we've actually achieved some things other than, mediocrity in the Premier League. But for years and years, it was the same for me. A season was defined on whether it was a good season, or whether we beat Tottenham or how we got on against Tottenham, because we were going to come 12th, whatever happened. If it was Allardyce or any of the other sort of dross managers we had, we'd either be fighting relegation or coming mid-table. But if you beat Tottenham, that's sort of made for a good campaign. Yeah, and I honestly think it comes from that, and I think it's nice to see now. I'll be interested to see whether it's the same tomorrow. Now Noble's gone. Declan Rice has been a bit of focus on him and his captaincy and how he's stepping into the role, etc., etc. It comes from Chelsea. I think he dislikes Tottenham as much as the next man, which is obviously a lot. So, but I hope that in reminders and the insistence that this is still a huge game for the supporters is continuing being drummed into the players, new ones as well. So exactly what you've alluded to already, that extra 10 to 20% in performance that comes, you want to see it again tomorrow.
But does it make you, this is the thing that's interesting, and I always think, doesn't it make you mad though, as a West Ham fan? Yes, it's brilliant that you have that extra 10, extra 20% when you play us, but doesn't it annoy you to think that that 10, 20% is always there, but you don't see it every single week?
I don't know. I don't think so, really, because I think that can only be extracted in certain situations and against certain teams. I think it's Paul. I mean, I struggle to get excited to go and watch us play Brighton, let alone if I was out there having to run an extra kilometre or two after I'd ran myself into the ground. So no, I've said this to you before, and this is where the reverse psychology starts. It's not on purpose. I think you either owe us a slapping, or it's going to be one of those forgettable ones where there's not over 2.5 goals. It's a 1-1 or a 1-0, one way or the other. Very much Eric Dyer, last minute Upton Park vibes. That sort of game. So
you're generally confident and looking forward to the game then, by the sound?
Oh, absolutely, as always. Yeah. Upbeat and optimistic as ever. Give us a score prediction then, Paul, before we let you go.
2-1 Spurs.
Now that
I'll give you 2-1.
I'll
give you a goal.
That face there was the face of a man who really wanted to say 4-1.
Of course I want to say 4-1. But, firstly, I'm a nice man, as you said. I mean, and I respect you and I love you, Will, so I wouldn't dream of saying that. I'd hope it to be 4-1 and hope it to be 8-1. But I'll take the 2. As long as we win the game, I'll say 2-1. Maybe.
And most importantly, you're sitting in the home end. So
yes. Yeah. Looking forward to it. Yeah, very much looking forward to it.
Well, look, Paul Coyte there, talkSPORT presenter, Mr. Tottenham, all-round good guy. Paul, it's brilliant having you on the show. I do hope you enjoy the experience, but I don't hope you enjoy the game. Any trouble, of course, give me a call and I'll come over and sort it out.
Well, I appreciate that, mate. Thank you very much. Enjoy.